I'm Brad, and I've been a tour guide for nearly 10 years. It's been my pleasure to show the best that my country has to offer to the hundreds of guests I've hosted over the years. Now you get to be my guest as I take you on an eco tour
Hey
of
guys, welcome
paradise.
back. Brad here. We're at a very important cultural heritage site in the Bahamas, actually located in 8 Mile Rock, an area called Hepburn Town. It's called the Boiling Hole. Now, the Boiling Hole is the cultural icon that it is simply because of the natural beauty that it exhibits. Now, these structures are created due to erosion, all right? And limestone, what we're made out of in the Bahamas, it's a particular type of limestone known as oolitic limestone. This is a very soft, porous type of limestone, all right? So due to weathering, extreme temperatures a very long time ago, thousands of years ago, that would have created natural wonders like this in the Bahamas. So basically, the Bahamas wasn't always here. Prior to 75,000 years, we were an underwater mountain range of coral. Okay. Now this coral will go through a process where it breaks down into tiny little particles, gets washed back and forth in our shallow seas, gaining these concentric rings, these layers, becoming denser particles, and then ultimately re-solidifying into the sedimentary rock that we call oolitic limestone. So this process a long time ago, being hit with the Ice Age, otherwise known as the Wisconsinian Glacial Period, would have dropped the water levels in this region significantly, exposing the peaks of this underwater mountain range. Now, coral is very sensitive to extreme temperature, so big craters and cavities would have eroded all the way back then during that Ice Age, leaving the environment sort of looking like Swiss cheese. Okay, so that Swiss cheese effect that I like to refer to it as is how these natural wonders were created. Now, ultimately, when the water level went back up after the Ice Age, it would have appeared as if it didn't go as high as it was before. But what actually happened was the land stuck up a little bit higher. Okay, we have processes, geological phenomena like post-glacial rebound and glacial isostasy. These are events that would have caused the weight of the ice pressing down on one side to rift up the land on the other side. It would have also caused the water, which would expand ice to crush everything in between, causing the land to slowly emerge from underground. So that's how the Bahamas literally emerged from underwater. So because we came from underwater, that basically means nothing comes from here. Everything that's here was brought here over the course of our history. But I mentioned all of that to say these natural orifices, cavities, they mean something very special to us in the Bahamas. For instance, the people of Hepburn Town and all across Grand Bahama get to come to this site where you can jump in from the top rocks. You can go snorkeling. It's also a place where over time we've began to bring visitors to partake in one of our natural wonders. Now, why is it called a boiling hole? Basically, it's called a boiling hole because when the water gets funneled in through that narrow entrance, it creates a bubbling or a frothing effect. Okay, hence the name boiling hole. Doesn't have anything to do with geothermic activity or anything like that. We are made entirely of limestone, so we're not made of volcanic rock or anything like that. But water comes in, froths up, gives the effect of a boiling pot. Okay, now boiling holes like this, they actually play an important role for our marine life because this controlled environment away from most predators and rough storms is the perfect estuary. So lots of our smaller marine creatures can grow up in environments like this. In places like this, you can find things like needle-nosed gars. You can find smaller tropical fish like damselfish and so forth, sergeant majors, and it actually is the entrance into a cave. Okay. Now, surrounding the boiling hole, we can find some local foliage, the sea green, that is a dune stabilizing tree. We take the berries from that tree to make jams and jellies. It can even be used to make wine. So invasives would include the casuarina. So the casuarina tree, we actually have two types. The red Australian cedar and the black Australian cedar. These trees were introduced into Florida as a shade tree in the 1800s, and subsequently they spread throughout the Bahamas. Now these trees are actually no bueno for the coastline because they cause massive beach erosion. So unlike the sea grape that fortifies the dunes on the beach and prevents beach erosion, these casuarina trees have a very shallow root growth and a lateral root growth, but they're a tall tree that catches a lot of wind in strong hurricanes and storms. So they get toppled over, and that net-like root system loosens up the topsoil and the sand, and that sand gets carried out, and it actually shortens the beach, causes significant coastal erosion. Now, neat little pockets are hewn out of the rock due to weathering and erosion, and we call this type of limestone honeycomb rocks. So what happens is that when it rains, the acidity that's in the rain will be filtered by the limestone, but there's also a weak acid being formed in that process, carbonic acid, and will eventually dig out small pockets that smaller creatures tend to nestle themselves in, particularly mollusks. So we have mollusks of the gastropod nature. That means stomach foot in Latin. Basically, they slide along the ground in the form of whelks. So whelks are actually on the menu here in the Bahamas. They can be eaten, and they're made into salads and so forth, like ceviche style salads. And what they'll do is they'll collect water inside of their shell, so when they get caught in the low tide, they are able to maintain hydration until the tide comes back up. Okay guys, what we have here is a star coral, or a fossil of a star coral. A star coral is also known as the Montestrella cavernosa, and coral in general is very interesting in the sense that it's basically made up of two creatures that have a symbiotic relationship. Symbi meaning together, and biosis meaning life-like. And basically these two animals need each other. One of them is called zooxanthellae, and the other is a polyp. Now, what's very interesting about limestone is that there's actually a crystallized manifestation of calcium carbonate known as aragonite, and it gives off an iridescence. It's nice and sparkly and very strong. And aragonite is a growing industry in the Bahamas. It's actually used as a thickening agent, and it's even used in the ceramic that's used in space shuttles. So very growing demand for this type of rock. I'm glad I got to share this part of my home with you. If you've enjoyed the tour, be sure to click the like button and subscribe. Thanks for watching. Maybe I'll see you on our shore soon.